Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. This is Martin and Naya, and you are watching what would normally be an edition of a show we call The Breakdown here. That's California Film Foundation's The Breakdown. And every month we bring on an individual who is doing something in the film world. We call it The Breakdown. Just like you break down a script, we're breaking down the behind the scenes of how to make movies. This year, or I should say this winter solstice, however, we're doing something very extra special, and it's called our Digital Odyssey Conference. And what that'll mean is that you'll have an opportunity to learn from several people in different categories, if you will, within the film world, and who come to making movies from their own particular place. And I'm very excited because we've got a very, very exciting lineup for you today. But unless I'm remiss, this Digital Odyssey Conference is part of our Sacramento International Film Festival. And I just have to have a moment here to say a huge thank you to all of the filmmakers who've been participating in the Sacramento Film Festival. It's absolutely been our distinct honor and pleasure over the last few days. It's been very difficult with COVID. As you know, a lot of film festivals have gone the way of the dodo. A lot of film festivals just don't exist anymore, and a lot of things don't exist anymore as a result of COVID. Well, what we did was augment what we do, and in this case, it means part of what we did was live. The last couple of days have been live, and then part of it is going to be what you're experiencing right now. Okay, so kind of a hybrid kind of a solution. And that, I think, has really, really helped a lot more filmmakers and a lot more audience members who really want to know about filmmaking, indie film, and really want to see what's going on. Let's give them more opportunities because let's face it, there are a lot of people that just don't want to go back into a movie theater just yet. I don't blame them. We're not completely out of the woods. And if you are suffering, if you have an immunocompromised situation, I certainly understand that. But we do want to thank all these wonderful filmmakers for being so flexible. So if you happen to be watching right now, and you're one of these filmmakers, and maybe you're somebody that we had to put off to the spring that we couldn't accommodate right now, right? You know what I'm talking about? Or you're one of the screenwriters that have been scratching your head for the last, 3 or 4 weeks going, what's going on with this thing? We just want to thank you because it is a kind of a different kind of an animal, this hybrid solution. But again, with that said, we thank you. We love you. And without further ado, I want to start introducing some folks here that are going to be a part of this digital odyssey that we're going on right now. And I want to, at first, if I could, I want to bring in my brother from another mother, Mr. Ethan Eskelson, because this is one of the guys that I do owe a huge debt of gratitude to, not only for his filmmaking prowess, but also because we try to bring him in to the 48-hour film program that we had the other day, and we didn't get his movie in, just ships passing in the night. But Ethan, are you there, buddy? And while I'm doing an introduction here, I will also say that, hey, Ethan, what's going on, brother?
Hey.
I also want to say that Ethan was the winner of last year's 48-hour film festival. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing real good, Marty. Thanks. How about yourself?
Hey, man. Oh man, I can't complain. Nobody listens. So but I do appreciate you for being here with us. Let me ask you, as a guy that's been participated in the 48 here for a minute, right? How many of them have you done now?
This is just my second.
Oh, really? I don't know why I feel like you must have submitted to other aspects of the film festival, but now that you have had a couple of them under your belt, tell me what you would tell a filmmaker as to, first of all, why? Because I think there's a lot of filmmakers that are like, dude, I'm not doing that. That's just too crazy. It's too much chaos in too short of a period of time. And besides, why? How? I mean, what kind of tips would you give somebody? Because you've been a winner now. We haven't announced the winner for this year yet, but you have won. You did win last year. You won the $1,000 prize. How and why?
I'll start with the why. For me, I think like what's cool at the 48-hour is that you make something and you just have to do it quick and you don't have time to like overthink it or stop yourself. That's for me, that's my biggest challenge is just getting something from start to finish. So what's crazy and cool about the 48-hour is you just have 2 days to do it. So you just have to run, which for me is really good. It keeps me focused. I wish I did a 48-hour like once a month. That would probably be really healthy for me.
Wow, you're a different breed, man, because I know that there are a lot of filmmakers who have done it and they said never again. But I do agree with you, though. I think that once you can discipline yourself to do all the things and make all the preparations that it takes that you would have to do anyway for any movie, but to do that in a collapsed period of time, I think it puts you on a whole nother level of preparedness. Would you concur with that?
Yeah. I just feel like every time you go from start to finish, you gain something. And so even if they're just 48 hours, even if they're just quick ones, it's like everyone, you just kind of gain, something by going from start to finish. It's a
process. And so speaking of the process, speaking of the how, if there was a couple of tips that you could give somebody who might be thinking, I missed that. They were all over, the news. Everybody got a little, shine as a result of it. And they got a wonderful experience. Maybe I'll throw my hat in the ring. What would you tell them if you could give them some tips?
I would say just do that. Like follow that energy, follow that like thing in you that says, I'm going to do that, and just do it. I think that's the biggest thing is just like, do it. Just like tell yourself that Friday night, no matter what, I'm going to turn in a movie Sunday night, no matter what, because that's the fun of it. Right, Marty? It is. I love the movies can be like all across the board and like all levels, and that's what's so cool.
It's like a box of chocolates. You'll never know what you're going to get. Now you did have some things that you had to have in your movie every year. We have some themes, right? So the main theme, of course, this year was what was it? It was Weird Science. And then, of course, we had Vernon Wells at the film festival, who's in the movie Weird Science. Talk about meta. But what were some of the other things that you had to have? Little kind of thematic little things that you had to have in there.
We had to have a bra, and then like as the item,
the bras that the guys wore on their heads in the movie, right? That was a prop, right? Okay,
right. And then it was the line of dialogue that the actress had. It was like the what do you little maniacs want to do first? That had to be in there.
Now, if you're watching at home and you're like, I don't know what these guys are talking about. I've never seen Weird Science. Do yourself a favor. Weird Science was directed by John Hughes, I think, who's done a litany of wonderful coming of age teenage movies. Weird Science was kind of early on, and it was much more of a goof fest than some of the other ones, like 16 Candles, some of this stuff. But what I would say is, for the love of Pete, check it out. It's a classic. It's a classic. Kelly LeBrock. I mean, and what was some of the other themes in there that you had to have?
I think that was it. I think it was a bra. Oh, a character named Chet. That was
because Chet was the brother in the movie Weird Science that they turned into like a big snot globule or something at the end of the movie. Remember that? So not to give anything away, but you guys are going to go watch Weird Science, and then you're going to go, right, Chet, I get it. So yeah, that's something that we do every year. And I hope that it adds a little kind of a wrinkle where filmmakers, regardless of what they wanted to do, kind of have to incorporate something. I mean, did you find it easy to incorporate those ideas, or was it a challenge? Or
it's always kind of tough, but it's fun because it throws in like an element of like silliness. No matter what you're doing, if you have to suddenly throw in like a character named Chet and like a bra and something like that, it keeps you from like you just have to be light on your feet and not be taking it too seriously, be able to adapt to it.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, awesome, man. Folks at home, if you're just tuning in, you are watching the Digital Odyssey Conference, and what we would love to do is to hear your comments and or questions. So to do that, you should have a chat function. Now, if you're watching it on the website, you can open it up and you'll see a YouTube, and then there'll be a chat on the side. So if you're watching off the website right now, we've got about 8 or 9 different platforms going right now. You can actually find that little chat on the side. And that same thing, if you're watching on Facebook or wherever you're watching, if you open the window up, you should see a chat function on the right, and that'll give you an opportunity to pop in a chat. David Quinley says, hi. David, if you have any questions as we go here, please feel free to add them in, and hi to you, David. Now, in just a few minutes here, we're going to add a young lady to the chat named Kathleen Courtney. And Kathleen has been a production manager and a producer on many big shows. Hi, Troy Lee. Troy Lee chimed in with a hello. And one of them, and I probably guessed the reason why I actually met her is because, as you all know, I also, in my day job, is I run a television station out of Pacifica, California, on the coast, just south of San Francisco, for those Valley people who don't know what I'm talking about. And this station is called Pacific Coast TV, and we run from pretty much San Francisco to Santa Cruz along Highway 1. Kind of nice stretch of road. None more so than more beautiful than Pacifica. And I met this wonderful lady named Kathleen Courtney. And she says to me, hey, I'd love to have you come and talk to our Pacifica Democrats Club. And I went, sure, if you'll come and talk to our Digital Odyssey Conference. And the reason why is because, among other things, she worked on the movie Chasing Mavericks. Now, for those of you that don't know, Chasing Mavericks was a movie starring Gerard Butler, and it was shot all in and around Pacifica, and it was about in and around Pacifica. It was about the Mavericks waves, which are like literally 80, 100-foot waves, the biggest big waves in the world that have become popular for being just that, the biggest big waves in the world. And every year they have a Maverick surf competition, and our TV station goes down there and covers it. It's a big deal, but it was such a big deal, and so many stories about Maverick surfers and just what they've had to endure and the lives that have actually been lost and so forth, that they made a movie about it with Gerard Butler and Kathleen. And I'm going to pick your brain about that, Kathleen, when you get on here. Now, Rick Camp just chimed in and he says, what did a short film in one day wrote, cast, and shot that really turned out amazing? We did a short film in one day that turned out amazing. Fabulous, Rick. That's what I'm talking about, man. If you can do a film in 90 days, you can do one in 90 minutes. No, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, you can do one in a day. Maybe not a feature. I don't know if a feature's been tried in a day. That would be something. But yeah, good for you, Rick. Now what I'd like to do, if I may, is I'd like to bring my other buddy here in on this conversation. This is my man, Galen Howard. Galen, what are you doing, Brother Bear?
Hey, buddy. How's it going?
Bro, it is going. Now, I just feel like I just saw you because I think I just saw you.
Because I think you just did, yeah.
At our epic party. Dude, you are, I got to tell you, so last night we had a party for the filmmakers. Galen shows up, and man, you did an epic little, what was that song that you sang last night? Man?
That's one of my favorites, Werewolves of London.
Warren Zevon's classic Werewolves of London.
Yeah. That's
kids,
yeah.
Youngsters,
one of my favorites, yeah.
You got to tap in on that.
Perfect for karaoke, you know.
Awesome karaoke tune, man. And we had a little karaoke contest, and the winners got one of their original Gorilla T-shirts. Okay, I gave everybody a T-shirt.
Yeah,
everybody wins.
Show, man. Everybody wins to get everyone up there. Yeah.
Now, Galen,
everyone gets a trophy. I love it.
Yeah, no, it was fantastic, and you were fantastic. Thank you for adding so much delight to the already delightful festivities last night.
We had a fun time, yeah.
I got a little bit of a headache today, but
I wonder why.
Worth it.
No reason.
Worth it, my friend. Okay, Galen, you are an actor of some report. Now, I got to tell you, folks, Galen's been. I mean, I don't know how many credits you've got now. Maybe you can tell us. Film and TV, any idea how many?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably over. Just on my IMDb, it's probably over 100 credits now.
Gee whiz, bro! And I knew you. I think you might have been like a snot-nosed 15-year-old kid or something like that when I first met you.
Yeah, to always hanging around the festival for sure. And getting any opportunity to be around filmmakers and see original films and things like that. Yeah. I mean, yours was one of the first opportunities for that in Sacramento.
Check it out. And here's the thing. So I knew that he was an actor, and I knew that he'd gone down to LA, and I knew he had a lot of credits. But here I am, sitting in front of my TV watching my Disney Plus, which I am wont to do. And it wasn't The Mandalorian, but Boba Fett. I'm watching it because Mandalorian and Boba Fett got pretty much the same outfit. But I'm watching Boba Fett, and I'm sitting there, and your mug comes on the camera, and you've got quite an awesome little role in this. And I'm just like, I'm doing the whole spit take, and I'm like, hey, that's my buddy Galen, man. Dude, let me just start right there because I'm the biggest Star Wars buff in the world. Do
For
you
sure.
mind, for all of us little Star Wars geeks and nerds, do you mind at all if I just kind of pick your brain on that a little bit, bro?
Sure, man. Yeah, let's talk. Let's talk. Yeah.
Talk to me about that.
Yeah, man.
How did you get it? First of all, how did you get the gig? Was it just a standard,
I mean, yeah,
you
it
went to
was
a callback and boom?
it was a standard audition. I mean, I mean, they're very that I mean, they're very hush hush about that. You know, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
They're
Oh yeah, they are. It's
yeah,
Star
they're
Wars.
very hush hush about that. So they didn't give me any details about, like, they just said, I think when I got the sides, it said, like, untitled, like, untitled Disney Plus Lucasfilm project. So, you can figure out what that is.
They told you that much. I'm surprised that they told you
They
that
told me
much.
that much, yeah.
Wow.
So I could at least look at that and be like, okay, well, I think I know, I have a certain idea what this is. And then, and I think, they gave me the scene, and it was, I think they kind of camouflaged all the names, but it was the same scene that you see up there. It was just like, oh, I think, I think instead of Boba Fett, it said, like, the boss or something,
Right.
and they gave, like, all kind of generic stuff. And then,
Yeah.
I just, I kind of did the scene 2 different ways, and sent it in. And then it was a pretty much like a bing, bang, boom,
Now, when you finally found out that it was the deal and you were going to be on an episode of Star
yeah,
Wars.
I mean, I pretty much knew it was Star Wars. I didn't, but funny thing is, they hadn't officially announced the Boba Fett series yet. So I was thinking, well, maybe it's Mandalorian. I don't know. And
Well,
so
what I want to know is this: did you crap yourself like I did? When I saw you?
it was
Or did you
surreal,
go,
man.
I mean,
I was there, on the volume there in Manhattan Beach, on the digital sound stage. And it's surreal being on what is it, on during COVID, because there's all of these high level people, but you only see the upper half of their face. So I can say technically I saw, I met Jon Favreau, but I only met that upper half of his face. Same with Robert Rodriguez.
Well, hey man, not to brag, but I'm going to one up you. I met Jon Favreau at D23 a few years ago, and got to hang out with him, and we even breathed the same air and got to shake his hand.
Man. Yeah, exactly.
But this was before his Star Wars gig, but he was still Jon Favreau.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, he was doing all the Marvel, everything. It's insane.
Now, let me ask you. Can I ask you a technical question from an
Sure.
actor's point of view? Obviously, I'm not going to ask you. How do they do the special effects? But from an actor's point of view, first of all, can you tell us what is the volume? People don't know what that is. What's the volume?
Yes, the volume is what they call the digital sound stage. And so it's basically this kind of like 360 sound stage that instead of having a green screen, they have the digital background kind of projected on these,
It's kind of like a dome.
on these gigantic LED screens behind you. So they don't have to do that in post, so it's all right there in front of you. So it takes longer on set because they have to light it correctly and all of that, but then it's all in the can.
But then you can see the stuff.
And then you're right
maybe
there.
not if you're looking at the camera, but if the stuff behind you is like kind of behind you.
Yeah, like everything in the foreground that's existing in the foreground is is kind of built up on the set, but then everything in the background is digital.
Man, I got to bring in because I got another Star Wars geek here. It's my brother from another mother. His name is Mr. Vincent D. Miles. And Vince was partying with us last night too. And Vince, if you guys don't know, is an actor too. Has been in a lot of stuff, worked with a lot of people. Robert Zemeckis, Spielberg. He's been directed by Steven Spielberg. I mean, we're not worthy. But he also runs our Cinesoul, which is the Sacramento International Black Film Festival. Vince, I'm bringing you in here, man. You got to quit fooling with your shot there. There you go. Uh-oh.
There he is. Look out.
There he is. All right. Hey, bro. You gotta just set it and forget it, man. You're on live with Galen Howard.
Right, I'm live.
Because I want to make sure if you have any questions that you could ask him. So Vince, you got a question for this guy? He's talking about working on the set, the volume, this amazing piece of technology that they've done so that they can make these shows like Star Wars and on and on, just the fantastic visual tour de forces that they are. But what I guess what I'm curious about is how that is different for an actor. I mean, what would you want as an actor? What would you want to ask, Vince?
Preparation. I always, as an actor myself, it's all about how do you prepare yourself when you're going in? Do you have a ritual? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, that could be a general question. Never mind the volume, but I mean, yeah, what's your process?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's
Love you, brother.
Yeah, no, I mean what's great about that set, because you don't when you're on a green screen you have to you have to kind of fill in the blanks. On the volume, everything is right there in front of you, so you kind of get that extra help. But I think it's it's always kind of putting yourself in that scene and kind of imagining, kind of using your imagination, imagining kind of what your what your kind of rituals are. For this character, I was kind of playing kind of a pencil pusher kind of character in this fantastic world. So kind of a comedic contrast there. And so for that kind of playing, like, everything is, everything's kind of mundane, everything's kind of like, there's, these aliens, there's, this
right.
and that, another,
right.
another, a rogue agent coming through. Yeah. I've seen it all kind of thing, And,
I'm gonna bring my man Ethan back in here because he might have a question, and we're also going to add a new guy to the mix here. I've been talking about this guy for a long time because we're starting to go into an area that I think might really benefit this conversation quite a bit, and that's the area of story and character. Right, story meets character, and everybody has a part to play in that. So this gentleman's name is John Dahl Honore, and John. My brother from another mother is a composer. We've had him on once before, and we kind of teased that he would be here today. Oh, John, are you out there? There he goes. Hey, John, what's going on, Brother Bear?
Hello, Marty. Can you hear me all right?
Oh, yeah, man. We can hear you loud and clear. Thank you.
Sweet.
So we're talking we're talking to Galen here, and again, I brought Ethan. I'm gonna bring Vince back on here. And we're talking about preparation, right? Vince asked, what's your process? What's your preparation? And it kind of seems to me this is kind of dovetailing a little bit into story. So I'm going to throw it out there. If you guys have questions, or if you have questions for each other, process, story, and what you do to prepare for your different roles. John, if I could, you've talked a lot about story as a function of what you do with music. Can you expound on that a little bit?
Sure. Well, composer is sort of the title, but what I do is emotional director and assistant storyteller. So it's all in service to whatever story we're trying to tell. So at the moment, I'm actually working on a little holiday film. Odd that it should happen in the holidays, but
usually it's in June, right?
Exactly.
It's an interesting little project with some really cool, down and dirty rogue filmmakers of great quality, and so it's a privilege to team up with them. But I'm having to do some, John Williams Home Alone-esque sort of Christmas music. And
did John Williams score Home Alone?
He sure did.
Absolutely.
He did?
Yeah.
How did I escape my entire life and not know that to this moment?
Yeah. Well,
wow.
And it's a phenomenal.
No wonder I like the soundtrack of that movie so well.
Yeah. So, it's fun to work on, but it's, again, whatever you're doing has got to be, you know, in service to the story. You can't just, you know, do your own thing.
So for you, what is that process like for you, John? I mean, what do you? I mean, I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna circle back to all of you and ask the same question. But for you, what's that process?
It starts with the script. Story. So it starts with the script. I get ideas. I start putting together a palette, if you will, and maybe some demo ideas that I can, you know, say, hey, do you like this direction, or do you think we should do this direction? And fly from there. Hopefully, I'm working with somebody that is trusting enough that I know what I'm doing, and will, you know, deliver a great collaboration.
Right. And I got to say, you and I have had those conversations, right? Because even just, we did a little thing where we're just doing like the reel that you watch before the movies. And John made this fantastic soundtrack for it. It was way more fantastic than what the reel called for, right? It was like epic and had all this tension. And I'm like, I think we got to take the tension down a little bit, because I don't want anybody, you know, peeing their pants before the movie starts, you know? And so he's like, oh no, you know, thank you for that. No. And then he did, he brought it down, and it was a little bit more ambient, right? It still had a little underlying tension to it, because you do want to have some anticipation, right? You hope that when you're watching the pre-credits, you know, for a film festival or whatever, you're kind of in your seat going, yippee, I'm about to have this wonderful experience. So you want that, but you just don't want to clobber them with it. And so after we talked, you know, we were able to find that exact tone, right? That exact kind of emotional tone. And that really, I think, is for me, I mean, an example of what you're talking about. Galen, if I could, you know, just coming back to you, and then I ask you guys, Vince and Ethan, same question. As far as how do you find the tone, you know, right, of the character, and how that character fits into the story? How much of that is direction? Because like in your case, in the I keep want to say Mandalorian, but in Boba Fett,
right, in Boba Fett, yeah.
When your character came on, it was clearly, to me, some comedic relief, right? I thought.
Yes.
It was
definitely.
That specified to you, or how much of that was what you brought to it?
It was a collaboration. It's interesting because I think they were. I think that it's actually it was cool because it was actually something that everyone kind of found on set, where it was
where
it was in the beginning. I think my character was kind of written as a little more nervous, you know, like you know, kind of like you know because I think actually that comedic moment was more found, you know, as we were directing it. So first I was playing like kind of, you know, just kind of dumbstruck by, you know, this whole crowd of people coming through and being kind of like, yeah, kind of like that. But then they found like, no, like, let's kind of subvert it and kind of have it like, oh, this guy just doesn't care. And then they kind of found, they kind of discovered that. So I think I did it like one take, and they were like, hey, everything you're doing is great. We're realizing that we gave you the wrong direction. So let's try it like this. And then so then we found it. So then we all kind of found it together, and then kind of played it, you know, and then found the tone as you're talking about, you know, from there.
No, but I love that little comedic undertone, you know, that you had.
Yeah. So that was
how much of that is scripted, you know?
Yeah. So that was kind of found on set, you know, that was, and so it was really cool to be able to be part of that and kind of, you know, be part of it as they were kind of finding the right kind of tone, you know. Nice. So that was really cool.
Now, Vince, you've worked on a lot of big sets, and you've worked with directors. How does this resonate, what he's saying here about finding that tone, or finding that thing that services the script or services the story, and maybe you didn't even realize it did?
You know, yeah, I mean, a lot of it is I think finding it, you have to trust obviously your ability, and you got to find your trust in your training. And I know Galen and I, we talked about this last night, Especially like when I did before this whole thing now with CGI and everything, I did a CD-ROM game called Wing Commander 4, which I might remember with Mark Hamill and John Spencer, but a couple other people in it as well. But I played a pilot, and I had to, take direction, obviously from the director, using my imagination, and as I had to sit in like a flight simulator and pretend I'm in space, and I had a pilot hat on my own little helmet. They put VidMan on my space helmet, and so while I'm sitting in this simulator, as the director is giving me direction about certain things that I'm looking at, and then you really just have to really, because you got to, you're using that imagination and all, and then you got to use your training and trust those things to guide you, because technology, it could do a lot of good things, but it really comes down to the actor being able to deliver.
Yeah. Well, and look, even if you're on the volume set, you're not on a green screen having to imagine your world.
Yeah.
Still, the camera's in front of you and you're still staring at it.
You have to put yourself in that world. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't believe it, if you don't believe it 100%, it doesn't matter what's all around you. All that, if you don't commit to it 100%, no one else, the magic is broken. Magic's gone.
Yeah.
Folks
at home, listen, I want you to know that you can ask a question of these guys. I'm gonna bring them back in just a moment here, because what we're doing now is I'm gonna bring on a new person, and I'm very excited because, like I said, if you hadn't heard me at the top, I'll just kind of reiterate. So you guys hang tight. We're gonna bring you back on in just a moment. But before I bring Kathleen on, I want to again say you're watching a program here that is interactive. Now, I've got a couple of folks here. Rick Camp tuned in, and he said, did you have time to do post-production? And if you weren't under a short time, such as the 48 hours, if you had a month, what would that mean to you? Mark Hoffman says, hey, Vince. Mark Hoffman's a buddy of yours, Vince. So if you guys have a question, feel free to chime in. We'd love to hear you. Remember, if you don't see a sidebar, click on it again to where you can watch it either on YouTube or Facebook or whatever, and you'll see a sidebar so you can type in comments. But right now, it is my distinct pleasure to bring a lady who, as I told you at the top of the show, I met kind of at a political kind of a backyard barbecue for a political candidate in Pacifica. And we ended up I came in to talk to her and her group. And I said, but you got to come in and talk to my group, because as it turns out, she's been a producer and a unit production manager on many different shows. Some of them just a few of them that we toss out there. A couple of movies that I really like. The Score, if you've never seen that, with Robert De Niro. The Shadow with Alec Baldwin, as a big comic book fan, Shadow was kind of one of those early comic book movies before we got inundated with Marvel and now the DCEU, whatever they're calling it now. And that was a lot of fun too. But, again, it was that movie. Oh, and San Andreas, which, by the way, I just recently saw, I think on Netflix with The Rock. That one was a lot of fun. I remember when it was out in the theaters, I'm like, whatever. I'm not a big Rock fan, whatever. I've seen Earthquake. Hey, my dad took me to see Earthquake and The Towering Inferno when I was 10 years old. And we lived in San Francisco. And I'm at the Towering Inferno is based in San Francisco. And we come out of the movie theater, and my dad says, well, son, we had a real shake and bake weekend. Earthquake, Towering Inferno. You'll get it later. Anyway, so I've seen a lot of, what I'm trying to tell you is I've seen a lot of disaster movies, but that was a good one. But it's the movie called Chasing Mavericks that I thought I was really impressed with. That was shot in and around San Mateo County on the coast side, Pacifica. And I think some of the scenes were supposed to be in Santa Cruz. I don't know. We'll ask her about that. But if you ever want to know about that preparation on how to create a movie, you could ask for no better help to help you understand. And this is Kathleen Courtney. Oh, Kathleen, there she is. Hi, Kathleen.
Hey there. Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Now, look, you moved up to Pacifica. Is that right?
That's right. On Chasing Mavericks, you're right. We worked right from Pacifica all the way down to Santa Cruz. But I spent about 8 months on the beach, and I went back to Encino, where I lived, which is in the San Fernando Valley in LA.
I know where Encino is.
And
Yes.
it's
Hot Encino, hot as
it's
hell.
105 in the
In
summer,
the shade, yeah.
and it is an hour and a half from everything good. So I hightailed it up here before prices went up. Thank goodness, because I don't think I could ever afford it now. It's such a beautiful place, and it is stunning. So yeah, Chasing Mavericks. Actually, I turned it down a couple of times, which goes to show you that, you know, if you're supposed to be doing something, it's just not going to let you go. I turned it down.
Look, you got a whole new lifestyle as a result of it.
Everything changed. My entire life changed because of that movie. Actually, I want to bring it back. This is the fun thing about working in the industry for over 40 years, is that I have so many memories. And one of them was working on Casino, the Scorsese movie, in 94. And I was
What
on
was
that.
your role on that film? What did you do on that film?
I was production coordinator on that one. It was the last movie to do. I was a production coordinator. That was in 90.
Before you became a production manager. And then do you mind telling folks, there might be some folks that were kind of like, we get in a little jargon. Do you mind real quick, just what's a production manager do? What's a production coordinator do?
You got it. Production coordinator is like the middle of the wheel, is the way I like to put it. Everybody has to go through the production coordinator to find out where things are supposed to be. The production coordinator will get everything and everybody where they're supposed to be, and take care of the whole process. So they end up, it's a tough job to do. And I did it for about 10 years. But I ended up getting less and less money. I capped out, I guess is what I'm saying. And so I decided to take more of the responsibility as a production manager. And the next movie I did was $1 million movie with Jennifer Tilly and Stockard Channing and Edie and Penn for HBO. And it was $1 million. And that's when I found out that I didn't know really hardly anything. I walked into it. This is the only reason why I keep moving up, because I keep thinking that I know what the job ahead of me is doing. I could do that. Oh, Jesus, I could do that. Oh, for God's sakes, I should just do it. And I do it. I'm like, what does it cost today? Wait, what is this form and pay? You know, so it ends up that what the production manager does is hire the crew and finalize and make the budget successful. So we watch the budget, we sign the payroll, we deal with HR issues, we deal with everything.
So do production managers get in trouble when these movies have these huge cost overruns, or is that at the producer director level?
They try to make
the directors all no, but it must be like this, and then you're like days and days, and what should have took 2 days now takes a week and a half, and now you're over, right? And then how much control does the production manager have over that?
None. The person that is responsible for that is the line producer, and that's the person that hired me. And the line producer, the reason I've done that job, and I hated it, because line producer, you have to deal with the studio, the producers, writers, directors, and cast. And with no offense meant to the people that do those jobs in this arena here, but that's not my forte. My forte is to work with a crew. I love my crew, and the San Francisco crew is just fantastic.
You've seen that before. Why do you think that? Why is it so much fun to work with a NorCal crew versus the SoCal crew? I love you, my SoCal people, but listen to what she says.
There's no comparison. I think there's a lot more entitlement down in LA, and up here in San Francisco, it's people come in, they drop in and shoot the Golden Gate Bridge and leave. So what that means is that everyone that I hire has to be really malleable. They have to be able to fit in to whatever box is coming. And that makes them And also, they were really respectful. Like they talked to me like I was a human, not the person that was there to say no to them. I mean,
Right.
people don't understand that I'm actually there to say yes. And actually I don't say
Well,
no.
how much of that now, in all fairness, how much of that do you think might be from previous experiences with other production managers or production coordinators that are not as sweet as you are?
You know, that's a really good point. Oh, I'm not always sweet, but I am always fair, and or at least I try to be very much. And I think that I watched for 10 years, I watched really terrible production managers work and like really piss off the crew, because I'm sitting outside the production manager's office and they come out and they're like, well, fuck her. I'll just show her. I'm going to, I'm going to just put in more overtime. Then I'll get my money. And I would see that what doesn't work is saying no. So I always tell the crew at the very beginning, I will never say no to you. What I'm going to say is the money isn't there in the budget. We don't have that, but I'm not a key grip. I'm not a gaffer. I don't have those talents. You do. So let's work on it together and solve it. And if we can't solve it, we'll go to the
So
DP.
give me an example. I mean, I can think of a couple of examples where I remember I was talking to a young lady, a makeup artist, and they said, well, they want me to do all these prosthetics and all this stuff, and that takes 3 or 4 days. And then they told me you've got 3 or 4 hours, or just I might be.
I know what you mean.
But the point is that they didn't think that their time was being respected. Is that a typical kind of a complaint that you'll hear from a crew member, or how would you characterize it?
Not on my movies, but because I've been working with really good assistant directors who have been able to schedule the day brilliantly. And when something does go wrong, and let's say the prosthetics takes longer than we thought, well, first of all, they will turn to me and go, why didn't we know that this was going to take this long? Well, you hired this person. Can they not do this? That's where it's never happened to me, luckily. But what has happened is in advance, it's all about the prep, man. It's all about the prep. In advance, they tell us it's going to take 3.5 hours. So then what we do is schedule that scene a little bit later in the day. So we're not bringing somebody in at 2 in the morning.
Honestly, as I'm asking that question, Kathleen, I think I'm realizing is that I'm working a lot more with indies that frankly are in many cases trying to cut corners to begin with because they don't have the money to start out with. So if you're out there, indie, I guess the only thing that I could say is you just got to be honest and upfront. If somebody's going to do something that normally would take X time, money, whatever it is, and you've only got Y, then you just got to be upfront about it and try to communicate about it
in advance. Yeah. It's all about giving time to fix it. And that's, I really appreciate that. Like what we'll do as soon as we have a schedule is we'll send it to makeup and hair and wardrobe, and they'll see the scenes and they'll look at what it is. And they're like, do you realize that you went from wet to dry to wet? And like, Jesus Christ, thank you.
Oops, why did I do that?
So we're all nets underneath each other. We're there to protect each other. And the movies that I have done, the smallest one was that $1 million HBO, but everything after that was pretty much 25 to 100.
You've got some big budget movies. I mean,
Yes, like 25 to about 125 million.
So they're not going to quibble on things that we're talking about like an indie would. So, but I think
wait, but I'm going to stop you because no, there's a lot. Most of that money goes above the line and to writers and to above the line, meaning actors and the producers' salaries and visual effects and post-production and all of these different things, so that when they get down to my little production budget, I don't have as much as that's. I've never started a movie where I've had enough money. Not once, not one time in my life. So what that is,
it doesn't matter what the budget, what the bracket is, you're still working with not enough resources typically.
Yes, because a big movie might have 70 days. Right. So, and now divide that out, and we have usually it's about 250,000 a day. And so that also means that makeup question that you asked is so critical, because time is the most expensive thing on any movie, period. That's it, time. So if you lose 3 hours and you don't finish, then you're into potentially buying the location again, extending the actors, extending the per diem and the housing, and and so and on and on and on, especially if it's a big scene and there's lots of extras. Now I have 10 makeup, 10 hair, and all of that. So do you want to do that the next day? No. So we solve our problems. And that's my drug of choice. That was the thing that kept me in this forever, is that it was never possible. And yet we always made it possible.
And the other thing that I heard you say a little while ago that is still kind of like pinging around in my head here is how that if you can't come to a resolution, or if you've got somebody that just doesn't feel like they've been treated properly, they might just do something that you might consider to be sabotage. Like they might intentionally go over on overtime. I've seen that happen on sets before, where the crew is intentionally foot dragging, slow to build sets, slow to do setups, intentionally. And you're like, hey, what's going on here? This doesn't take this long. If you're the director, or you're the, the UPM, or you're the line producer, and then, but they're doing that because they can, and that's how they get you.
Yes. And so my idea, and that is the main reason, one of the main reasons that I live up here, because that happened quite a bit in LA, because it's a very rich, there's so many shows, and all that the electrician cared about was whether or not the Best Boy Electric was going to hire him, and the Best Boy just cared about the gaffer just cared about the DP. So it was all about moving ahead and going further. Right. Here people are a grip is a grip is a grip, and that's they're working to live. And so yes, that is the reason why smart management can, or put it a different way, bad management can cost millions of dollars.
Yeah, it costs you a lot more than you thought you were saving by hiring that person at a,
Hell yeah. Somebody gave me a really good, I'll give you a quick one, is a really good story, is that my second movie I did was 28 Million with Jack Nicholson, Jennifer Lopez. And it was, and I was going through petty cash, and I went, what is this $2 parking ticket on a Sunday? This doesn't make sense for the set decorator. What is it?
You were going to that level of minutia? You were scrutinizing a $2 parking ticket?
Oh, hell yeah. I didn't know what I was doing. So I went into the accountant and I said, this is not fair. This is on a day off. And she goes, okay, you have a choice right now. You could fight that $2 fight and you will win.
Yeah.
Or you could win the $1 million prize at the end. And I went, that is the best.
Bingo.
Best advice.
Makes sense.
Probably I've ever gotten. That changed everything about the way that I did my job from that point on.
Well, and I think a lot of movies are the better for it. You got to go check her IMDb out. I totally completely forgotten about Casino. I've got a couple of Casino stories I can share about that shoot too, but I will tell you, we are not worthy. These are, Martin Scorsese, some of these directors we've worked with are the best.
Well, and the Casino quickly was just that it was a woman named Georgia Candace was the UPM. I was the production coordinator. Cut to Chasing Mavericks. Georgia's the line producer. She wants me on Chasing Mavericks because I worked with Curtis Hanson, who's the director. And she goes, you've got to do this with me. You've got to. And I went, Georgia, it's a movie about surf. It'll be hell. No, I don't know how to budget surf. I don't know how to do that. And
not to mention, like, what kind of weather are you going to get from day to day? Just all kind of stuff.
The whole thing. And then Curtis Hanson called me. And he goes, and he's an Academy Award winning, guy. And he goes, Kathleen, I hear you're not going to take my movie. And I went, who said that, Curtis? Who said that? And called Georgia back. You win. Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God. But my point to that is that was 1994 and you're cutting to 2011. So that's how important these relationships are. And you just never know. You never
100%. know. Kathleen, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start bringing in some of my guys back here, Galen and Ethan and John. and of course my brother from another mother, Mr. Vincent D. Miles, and add them back into the conversation so that they might have some questions for you, or you might have some questions for them. Also at home, remember, if you have a question, somebody said, Nick Anderson says, took a while to get free, but I'm happy to be here. Well, we're happy to have you, Nick Anderson. And if you have a question, we are talking right now with Kathleen Courtney, who as a unit production manager, who as a production coordinator, and you have actually been a producer on a few shows, have you not?
Yeah, in fact, Jennifer Lopez again. I was with Jennifer, who was a very different person from 94 to 2014, I think, is when I did a JLo picture. And that was my second lowest budget. It was $5 million, which was not much for a Jennifer Lopez movie. Because when you have somebody like that, there's a lot of money that follows. You have to hire her people. The clothes are different. The trailer is different. The time on the set is different. All of it.
Sure.
And so,
Sure.
and I just
saw that movie with her and what's his name, and she had all the entourage of people. And what was that movie just came out this last year?
Marry Me? No, yeah, no. I did it.
Was it like that in real life? She's got the whole entourage and the hair and the makeup and the whole team.
Oh,
the glam squad. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, 100%. But she's not the only one. But yeah, I just decided that I
would think she'd be at the top level of the top echelon of glam squad havers. Yeah, spoiled starlets, right?
Yeah, but she's the one that helped me decide that I never want to do that job again.
Oh God.
I mean,
all right, we won't ask you why. I have a question here from Rudy Evenhouse, and Rudy's asking, I'm interested in becoming an independent filmmaker. Let me add these guys back in here. Any advice? So Galen, come on, hop in here, Galen. We need you, brother. Rudy wants to know how to become an independent filmmaker. Kathleen, you want to chime in on that? I mean, you've been doing big budget filmmaking, but do you have a feeling about that?
Well, I say this to anybody looking for any job in the film industry or television is take whatever you can get at the beginning, because you can shine in those jobs. I have promoted so many people through the years because they'll come in as a production assistant and I'm like, yeah, my God, what do you do? You're so good. And then, and moving on. I mean, some of them become directors, so I say take any job, job and pay attention.
And do it to the best of your ability, and don't, here's another thing, in the local scene, a lot of times, people you get these small producers and they don't have any money. They have two nickels to rub together and they're trying to cut a lot of corners. And I have a lot of people come to me and they express some level of, anger that they're not being valued and that they're not being, respected because they're not being paid. And my point is, if you're at the level where you need to get paid, then you should be talking to people who have dollars to pay you, not the people who don't. And that's kind of on you. And so I would just say, if you're not at that level and you're still talking to people and you're still frustrated, then maybe you do need a little bit more seasoning, and you can get that on some of these small indie sets. Just be aware that it's not always going to necessarily be dollars, but it could be the experience. And some of those experiences are going to be bad experiences. And you're like, I never want to do that again, right? Like Kathleen's saying. Mm-hmm. So just be aware it's all for the experience. You're going to get that experience by being on sets, not by sitting there and saying, gee, I wish, Spielberg would come over and call me. And why hasn't Spielberg called me? That's never going to happen. But that's my 2 cents. What do you think, John? What's your attitude about it?
Say what now? Who? Hi. I don't have an opinion in terms of how to get started in film, other than everything is a relationship situation. Mm-hmm. And I hate to say it's who you know, and it's no. And that's the hard part for me, frankly, is the whole networking. John,
John's a shy guy, people. So
I'm not shy. I would just rather sit in my hobbit hole and write awesome, appropriate music, and let some other schmuck be the mouthpiece. But unfortunately, I'm not at a level where I'm attracting enough money to attract enough.
You don't have that big dollar agent.
A composer agent,
exactly. Dollar work for people, but he just,
if Richard Kraft were to be like, oh, I got to represent this guy, then
we've had Richard Kraft at the film festival, right?
Yes, I'm just saying.
So the next time I talk to Richard, I'll put in a word for you.
Sure. Yeah.
Galen. Oh wait, Galen just went black on us. Galen, what are you doing, brother? Come back.
There I am.
I was just gonna go to you. What? Now you should have some advice on this because you're the man. You're in the trenches. You're doing it, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think because I'm on the acting side, but I think it's again, it is just when you're starting out, taking every opportunity. I mean, I think I was doing I remember when I was first starting out, I would put in 12-hour days on these little shorts and everything.
I saw you doing it.
Yeah, and that's what you do. And yeah, I mean, if on the on the on the offhand opportunity that someone actually had money to pay me, that was manna from heaven, but and now I'm at a point where I'm actually negotiating that, so it's but it's you go every step of the way.
Bro, can I just say, it is, and I know I'm speaking for Vince here because Vince has known you a long time. It has just been one of the joys of my life to see you come up, bro, and to actually be making your living as a working actor. Coming from the little small town backwoods Sacramento, and now you're doing the damn thing, bro. And I'm doing spit takes because I'm watching you on big money productions, and I'm like, hey, I know that dude, and I don't know him because I stood in line to get his autograph somewhere. I know him because I remember him being in the trenches, man. That's just it.
Absolutely. And and I mean, and it was, and I owe my early development to having opportunities to meet filmmakers at your festival, to see people, putting their work up on screen, and to, having that inspiration and thinking, that this is, this is, making it real for people, making it like, here we're not showing you the films, we're showing you the filmmakers and telling you their process and everything. And so it's I think because that's, for a lot of people, it just feels like this, the idea of being in movies is just a fantasy world, and you're really bringing that to to a small town and making it real for people, and kind of showing people what those first steps are of, like, it's not here's like the first step forward just toward that goal.
Yeah, and they breathe air just like you do. I mean, it's that they might have more knowledge than you do, and they might have more chutzpah. If you're watching at home and you're just sitting at home, maybe you need to get out of the house more, COVID notwithstanding. But yeah, exactly. No, I totally hear you, brother. Vince, I know it's also
gratifying. How dare you, man? Just
I want to don't take it personal, man. Just take it. Ethan, what do you think, bro? What's your attitude?
Oh, I don't even
won the big prize at the 48-hour film festival this past year, so that's why you're the everyman filmmaker that's in the trenches.
That's it. Like, I'm a DIY guy, so I say what's cool now is that you could just make your thing. Just make your thing. It's like, take the phone out and do it, because.
Dude, you know what happened the other night? So one of the gals from Channel 3, the NBC affiliate, shows up. And Vince starts talking to her, right? And he's like, you should do a story. And she literally whipped her phone out. And then she comes and interviews me on her phone. And I'm thinking, like, okay, well, whatever. I don't know. This is going to go on her, like, Facebook. I don't know what's going to happen. And yesterday, all day long, 4 o'clock, 4:30, 5 o'clock, 5:30, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, boom, we're all over the airwaves. And I'm like, holy crap. This was our crew. This was the whole crew right here. It was great.
Oh, and I take credit for that too, by the way.
Yeah, you deserve credit for it, man. You're the one that pointed her out. You said, hey, go talk to Marty. And I'm like thinking like, yeah, whatever. She's like on the phone and boom, the next thing you know, we're all over the airwaves. Hey, Vince, same question, man. I mean, what Rudy wants to know. He wants to become an independent filmmaker and he wants to know what the advice is.
Well, first of all, I want to give honor and praise to Kathleen for being here. We are not worthy. Her and Galen and Ethan, I mean, it pretty much, and John, everybody's pretty much nailed it. I'll just say this. I always say is getting to know who the players are, which I was talking to Galen about that last night. You got to do your homework? Like Kathleen was saying too, I mean, every opportunity you get, learn something from it, and learn the people, learn the business, learn the people, and just grind it out. Just keep grinding. And you'll have a lot of people to say, no, you can't do it. Why are you doing that? Which are the haters, but you just go tell them to go kick rocks and just keep it moving. That's what it's all about. Just keep it grinding. If it's something you love to do, go for it. Just keep doing it and keep it moving. Be smart about it. Like I said, do your homework.
Absolutely. And I just want to piggyback on that, Vince, because here's the thing. As you're talking, these stories keep coming up for me over and over. And a lot of times, let me just give you the story. One little anecdote to illustrate the point, and then I think you're going to really get the point. But there was a lady that ran a little film, like a little screenwriting group in town. And as you know, tomorrow we're doing the American Screenwriters Conference. Our impresario is Dr. Lou Hunter of the UCLA screenwriting program. He's trained more Academy Award-winning screenwriters than anybody on the planet, and he's always talking about the how and the why. And tomorrow will be also graced with Richard Broadhurst, who is again an Academy an award-winning playwright as well as a screenwriter. And so we had this gal that, because I mean, we try to bring people in that can help us do certain things so that, like Vince does Cinesoul, I do certain things, and we bring people in, and we don't have a lot of money. So what's the payoff? The payoff is that you're creating the network, right? So if you're coming in working with us, I mean, look, I don't get paid. We're all doing this. This is not, we do it for the cause, right, Vince, not the applause. But I was talking to this gal, and I said, you should join up with our group, because we're really bringing some heavy hitters in here, and we really think we can get you personally and some other screenwriters literally to the next level, get some of your projects sold, get stuff into production, And so eventually she didn't do it, and she ended up going with some other little group in town, and I didn't know why. I didn't understand why. I was like, God, I just really didn't see it. I didn't get it. And so I asked her, I said, do you mind just telling me why? And you know what her answer was? You guys are just too real for me. And it blew my mind, because it never really occurred to me that somebody would be that petrified of going to the next level of success, of putting themselves out there. It was just easier for her. Sorry, John, to remain in her little hobbit hole. I'm sorry, John, I'm not picking on you. But no, she just didn't want to put herself out there. So folks, if I hear anything, what all y'all are saying, it's that you do have to put yourself out there. You do have to take risks, take chances.
Yeah.
Maybe be on something that you're like, I don't even know if I should be on this. And maybe it's going to be a shitty experience, but hey, it's a movie, you'll be done in 15 days, you're going to have a 5-day commitment, or
you got to make the relationships. So, and it again, it can be, I had a friend who introduced me to a friend of his who I started doing some work for, who happened to be the mastering guy for the guy that I work for at CBS. So, it's, which is now turned into an 8-year relationship, and how I make my living exclusively as a composer, and don't have to,
have a day job,
work for the state.
Yeah.
Exactly. But it's just it's relationships
Yeah.
and meeting people, and oh, hey, you're a director of photography. I know a cat that needs that. And I love being a facilitator for people as well. So it's just get out there, definitely.
Yeah.
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 Evil Sacramento says, I used to attend that screenwriting group. I don't know which one you're talking about. I'm not throwing anybody under the bus. I'm just saying
No.
these
Yeah.
are conversations that I have with people all the time where they're just like stuck. And part of that, I mean, we're just having a conversation last night, and part of that is like, oh, I'm just going to stay in Sacramento. It's like, really? Because that's not really where the fish are biting if you want to go to the next level. Now, if you want to do like Ethan is doing and build your own ecosystem and then sell that, that's perfectly acceptable too. But either way, you got to get off your rusty dusty. All right. So with that little sermon in the can, what else do you guys want to talk about? And by the way, folks at home, if you're still watching, we got about 15 more minutes here to go, and then we're going to have to call it quits. But if you have another question, Rudy did. That was a great question, Rudy, and thank you so much for that. Yes, Kathleen, please.
I just want to bring up passion, because if it wasn't for my passion of making movies, I was lucky I got it at 16 years old. I never would have made it, because it's so hard getting through those times in between the projects. And so you better love it in order to survive the low times.
The no's and the hard times. And right, Galen, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I always say to people, who are talking or have interest in acting, if there's something you enjoy doing just as much, do that instead. Because otherwise it's not worth it. It has to, it has to choose you. It can't be an either or situation. You only do it if you have literally no other option, because otherwise, why would you put yourself through all the pain and suffering?
Why indeed?
Exactly. I don't know what else I would do. It's
well,
I was an overnight success after 30 years.
Right.
Exactly.
So there was
Charlie
only
Holiday
30 years of misery before. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
It was only 30 years or so of misery before getting to a point where you realize how much you don't know. And start to expand from there. But I love that almost anything in this industry is a daily learning experience.
Yeah,
absolutely. True. And I think even after 30 years of misery, even after all of the the begging, the pounding the pavement, I mean, that work and that unpredictability and that the fear of getting the next job, I feel like to a degree that never ends. Even after the number of jobs and the body of work that I've created for myself over the years, I'm still I one job will finish and I usually won't know where the next one's coming from. I'm still having to hustle just as hard as I did 10 years ago.
Right. Galen, I was at the Reno Film Festival one time, and Kevin Bacon is there. So, by the way, when you play that 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon,
exactly, there you are, right there.
There I am. But this is the thing that blew me away. Now, this was not Kevin Bacon, current Kevin Bacon, or Footloose Kevin Bacon. It was Kevin Bacon in between Kevin Bacon, right?
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? And he says, "You got a job for me? What do you got? What do you got going on, man? What can I work on? What do we?" And he was really intent on.
He's serious,
like, And I'm like, bro, I got nothing. I'm not producing anything. I mean, but what the takeaway for me is that even Kevin Bacon, right, is trying to get his next gig and trying to figure out how that's going to come. And over the course of a career, particularly for actors, but for all of us, it's going to do like this, and there are going to be some lean times, and you have to get your head screwed in on that, because this ain't that 40 years and a watch and a pension kind of deal. It's just not. It's not the gig that's not the life we're living.
It's not linear. It's not, automatically you do this, then you get this, then you get this. It could be like this.
Charlie Holiday
Yeah.
said, this is what I was trying to say earlier, and I apologize. I didn't mean to step on what you were saying, John, but
No.
Charlie Holiday, the great actor coach, the great actor, who I, long before I ever met him, I saw him in, what was it? It was a couple of different movies, but I think it was in Ed Wood.
Ed
And
Wood,
he made
Kindergarten
such an
Cop,
impression
yeah,
on me.
yeah.
But I remember when I finally met him, I'm like, I know you from somewhere. And he started, ticking on. And I'm like, God, that's where I know you from, Ed Wood. And then we eventually got Martin Landau up to the film festival. We were able to play Ed Wood. We got Martin Landau there. And it was just like, and Charlie, and it was so meta. It was like, oh my God, these are my heroes. But Charlie used to say, if you can do anything else, do it. If you can be happy doing anything else, do that. But if you've just got that broken gene, whatever that is, that I got to be an actor, then, or whatever, you got to prepare yourself. So I think that goes to your point, Kathleen, about the passion.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well,
Okay, guys.
hey, Marty, I just
Yes,
wanted
sir.
to add
Yeah, please.
one thing that's very important too, especially with the highs and lows of this whole craft and this industry of ours, is you'd have to surround yourself with people that it's going to be your teammates, is what I call, or people that's in your support group or whatever, your tribe.
Circle, yeah.
Gotta find your tribe.
Because we all need someone. I mean, as much as people like to think they can do it or do it alone. Everyone needs a support group, because especially on those lowest of low days, and I know we've all been there, that's when you look to your tribe to lift you up, to get you through, to keep you moving.
Me, bro. You know that, right?
What's that?
That's what you are for me. You know that, right?
Well, hey, that's a two-way street there, brother.
But yeah, here, man. I gotta say, it's just absolutely true.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I despise everyone. Hire me, masterfade.net.
Evil Sacramento's chiming in here again. Or does no one care about every dime I spend and my budget? After all, how can I prove what I spent on the film without an accounting? I'm not sure. Oh, wait. Oh, I'm sorry. There was a comment before that. As an independent filmmaker, how important is accurate bookkeeping? Okay, that's okay. Thank you.
Okay, got it.
If my film,
that's her question.
I can use the accounting to negotiate a better deal. So I guess that's the age-old thing of where indie filmmakers don't want to tell distributors what they spent on a movie because they think that they're going to lowball them. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that's a thing. I don't know if Kathleen, I don't know if you have any experience with that, working on all these big budget movies that you do with studios.
Well, we just never allowed to say what the budget is.
You're never allowed to talk about it.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just I mean, once it becomes public, if I see something like Daredevil was $100 million, and all of a sudden I read that it's $100 million, so that's when I'm like, oh, okay, I'm free to say it now. And once it becomes public domain, and by the way, I share budgets with people. But I have to sanitize them, I call it, taking out words and, all the things that identify what movie that is, because that's another way that we really help each other is I'll call somebody that's worked in Montana. I'm about to go to Montana. Do you have a latest budget for Montana? You worked on this movie that just finished shooting there. I know we don't know each other, but because once you become a production manager, you kind of are in this club where you all help each other if you can. And
Right.
So it really, the budget is, the hard part is negotiating people's salary, because like you could take it two ways. You could either go, what I have budgeted for you is $50 an hour. Or you could say, what is the salary you got on your last film? And so they say $45 an hour. And I go, oh my God, it's exactly what I have. All right, perfect. And then, because I'm not trying to lowball them, I'm giving them something that they're happy with, but I could take that $5 an hour now and I can move it over to extras where I was short. So, there's There's a lot.
You're given a budget and you've got to figure out where all the line items are.
Yeah, or I make the budget, one or the other. Yeah. I love it when I make the budget because then I just know it inside and out. But
talking about breaking stuff down, right? The breakdown, right?
Breakdown, yeah.
Could you say those lines for $40 less?
Now, let me ask this question, not to get off on this track, but there, of late, this is kind of a thing. We're right in the zeitgeist of the moment where I don't know if it was an offshoot of Me Too, but it's certainly something that Hollywood has been dealing with, where female actors are saying, hey, you're not paying me as much as the boys do. Kathleen, can you speak to that? What is your opinion on that?
Well, look, it's complicated because certain actors can bring everything is changing now.
Certain actors can certainly bring certain audiences.
Yeah,
right?
that's what I was just going to say that. But then think about it. So many people now are on Netflix and all that. It's not the same thing. It's
hard to quantify, isn't it?
Yeah, it's harder to quantify. But I will say that any star should be paid if there's 2 stars and they're in the same amount of time and they're equally as important. There's no world where they should be paid differently. None.
Well,
but it almost always happens. That's the problem.
Yes, it does almost always happen.
I've never worked on a movie where the women, I'm trying to think. Well, Jennifer Lopez, so it just depends on the movie. But yeah, no, I think that usually the women are paid less, mainly because they'll accept it.
Oh, interesting. Very, very
fascinating. It's just it's something, if I could speak for all women in the world, I tend to not want to finagle. Either you have a really good agent that could take care of it, or you're on your own. And so it's hard to ask for more money and maybe lose the show. You never know if you're going to be asking for too much, and then they're like, "Oh, geez, we can't even come close to that." It's like, no, did I say $10? I meant $1.
Yeah,
it's complicated.
Yeah. Well, or it's like
I will say take your big shot first. Because it is a negotiation in many times. So hey, I can do this. I can get it done in a month. It'll be, 30 grand. Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't realize you were working with, okay. What about, 16? Still not working for you? Talk to me. Where can we meet?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Great advice.
Have your second and third options in your pocket,
Exactly.
I pay everybody nothing equally.
Everybody's everybody's equal. And Ethan, you hear that, actors? You're going to get treated just the same on an Ethan set.
But I want to say the most important thing on any movie set, more than anything else, more than
food.
Yes, who said that?
I did.
Yes,
John said that.
Oh yeah,
it's all about the food.
Baby.
All about
happiness is fed people.
Spend the
it's
money
so crucial.
on the
I had somebody come and tell me, hey man, it was John was telling me, hey man, there's this other little group in town, man, the film group, and they had such a great spread. They had the cupcakes, had their name on the cupcake, man. I'm like, well, I don't know if I'm going to be putting names on cupcakes at our annual at our tay-to-tay, but I tell you what, those chicken wings and tater tots were pretty damn good last night. So I agree. You got to feed your.
I agree.
Right.
We had lobster. We had crab legs and lobster tails on Face Off.
On what?
Face Off. John Woo movie.
You get that?
John Travolta. Lobster tails and crab legs.
Holy!
On the last day, was it on the last day?
Yeah.
Usually it's the last day.
They
pull that out.
My three least favorite words are "come having eaten."
Having had.
Having had. Yep.
Having had. Well, you know,
No
they say
way.
a
No
full crew
way.
is a happy crew. So
That's right.
I think it's true. So, you know, hey, if there's nothing else that you guys learn here from this intriguing conversation, feed your crew. You hear me? Feed them good. Maybe not
Hey,
crab legs and tails.
Martin, I got a question for Kathleen. So, what's your favorite craft food? Food?
Craft service, the person or the?
No, for you. What do you like?
What do you like to eat
Okay,
on set?
I'm the cheese and cracker girl.
Mm.
The cheese and crackers for me.
Well, charcuterie. Yeah.
Yeah. You can't lose.
I didn't do movies, but I used to tour with bands back in the day as a mixing engineer. And it's kind of the same thing with bands and tours, and there'll be specific people that are doing food. And it's always the people that are doing like anything grilled tacos, Mexican.
Oh yeah, if we got a live grill there and they're doing
That's
it,
always a winner.
jammy.
We bring
That's
out
the jammy
the
because
truck.
it's hot right there. It hadn't been sitting there. It's right there. Right off the.
On 13 Reasons Why, I was on there for years, and the crew actually got sick of food trucks. They're like, I'd rather have a short day than a food truck. Can you please,
Oh.
So I know, but it was true. We were doing 2 or 3 food trucks a week, and
Well, I mean, that's probably a lot of fried food too, I'm guessing.
oh no, we pull in the good stuff, but
What
ice
a
cream.
spoiled crew you had on that show.
I try to spoil them. I want to. I mean, I want
Yeah,
them.
Feel
but
good.
I-
Yeah.
Come on, man. I want to go to the food truck get down right now. Are you kidding me? Evil Sacramento says an army marches on its stomach. Now, guys,
Yes.
look, we got 8 minutes left here. So as much as I love the craft service conversation, I would like to ask you just one closing question, and I need you to be concise for me. But if you had one piece of advice, if it wasn't an army marches on its stomach, give me the concise, give me the Reader's Digest. What would it be? All right, and let's start with Galen. What would it be, Galen?
Just for anyone or for
Yeah, whatever, for actors, whoever you want to aim it at.
Yeah, man. I mean, I really, I want to, kind of bounce off of what John said as far as building relationships, because I think that's such a that's such a key element of this. It's all about it's not about just who you know, but who knows you, and how and who's
Right.
and how you and the impression that you make on people, and and
Yeah.
that it's
100%.
because I think everyone, I think when you come into this business, it's very easy to come from a point of need or desperation, and and that is a stink that people can smell 2 miles away,
No,
and
can't they? Yes, they can. All right, listen, we got to keep it moving. I got to make sure we get everybody in here. Ethan, hit me.
okay.
I'll just encourage people to make their things,
Do it.
and I encourage people to make their things.
I do too. I agree. Concisely,
Is that
and I appreciate it, by the way. Mr. Vince, same question. Keep it short.
Yeah, same thing. What I pretty much said earlier about just lean on your support group when you need to for the low times. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Lean on people. Lean on me.
Oh hell, here we go.
Oh, well, that was last night. Sorry, John. Same question. Same brevity.
Don't be a jerk. The life is short. It's a small world, a small industry. People want to work with people they like and enjoy. So
Yes, they do.
there you have it.
I enjoy hanging out with you, brother. You're always a delight. We had lunch yesterday, me and this guy. So I love you, man. And glad you're feeling better. He had a little dyspepsia, and he got a little Pepsid AC. Now he feels a lot better.
Thank you for sharing,
Kathleen. Yes, absolutely. But I just love you, man. I care about you. Kathleen,
Well,
what would you say?
I would say be great at whatever job it is that you're doing. because people are watching. And
Mhm.
I mean, I have so many things to say, but pretty much everybody has said all my other things. So just be great. You're as good as your last project, in whatever capacity it is.
Absolutely, 100%. John Dahl Honore, Galen Howard, Vincent D. Miles, Ethan Eskelson, and of course the incomparable, we are not worthy, I agree with you, Kathleen Courtney. My name is Martin Anaya. You've been watching The Breakdown, or as we like to call it, the Digital Odyssey Conference 2022. This is our winter edition. We're going to do more of this in the future, so stay on CaliforniaFilm.net, SacramentoFilmFestival.com. And tomorrow, guess what tomorrow is, kids? Tomorrow is the Sacramento, Sacramento International Film Festival's closing day. And with that, our Screenwriters Conference, the American Screenwriters Conference, CaliforniaFilm.net. We thank you so very much, people. It just means so much to have had you. Yeah, give yourselves a big round of applause. And you folks at home, you could do a lot worse than listening to these guys. We so much appreciate you. Thank you so much, and have a great night.
Thank you.
Happy holidays, everybody.